All right. I'm going to share my screen. Welcome everyone to this Ask Me Anything session. So everyone should be there. All right, so let's start. Welcome everyone to this Ask Me Anything session. So we will be monitoring the chat. If you have any question, this is the time to post it. So please post it on the chat, and we will answer it during the meeting. Today on the call we have Harvey and Marius that will be presenting, and we also have other team members on the chat. So yeah, please, this is your time. We are here to answer your questions. We prepare some content for you, just in case there are not enough questions. To start with, we are here to answer your questions, so please post them on the chat. We're going to talk first about Atmosphere. This is the latest products we launched a couple of weeks ago. It's now available worldwide, and Marius is here today to talk about it. We're going to talk about Pulse, the latest release that we released a few weeks ago. Then we're going to talk about Arc Plus and Slice with the latest features. And finally, we have also Power Connect. If you have some questions, we can answer them as well. But to start with, as everyone is talking about AI, yeah, I thought we'll start with talking about AI as well on this call. So I just wanted to give you a very high overview about the state of AI in IBM Planning Analytics, because yeah, there is a lot of talk about it. So I thought we'll cover quickly an overview of the ecosystem of AI on IBM Planning Analytics. So first, when you want to use AI, you need to choose a user interface to talk to AI. So if you are using Analytics workspace, inside Analytics workspace, you have a Analytics assistant that can talk directly to watsonx. If you're using Arc, in Arc, you have an Arc assistant that enables you to talk to an AI service as well, or you can choose your own device. So it could be your phone, it could be a web browser, it could be a script. This is that I flagged as a grouped as device, could be anything else. So once you have your user interface that you want to use, because we know we have some customers, they use a web browser and they just copy the data and ask the AI to summarize it. So you can do this, or you can use the Analytics assistant or the Arc assistant. So next, you need to choose the service provider. Well, you cannot always choose. Like for example, if you use a Analytics assistant only works with watsonx. So you can see I have the mark on the right. So if you're on Analytics assistant, it will be powered by watsonx. If you are using your own device, either phone, your script, web browser, you can use any of these service provider. Then it's up to you either to subscribe to an online platform or write your own scripts. If you're using Arc, Arc supports now any OpenAI compatible service, and all of these ones that are listed are the most popular that you can use with Arc. So you need an API key, and then inside Arc you can talk to any of these service provider. So once you choose your service provider, then the next step is the foundation models. And this is where, I guess maybe for some of you, it might not that be clear. Like if you use watsonx, so watsonx is not a foundation model. So watsonx is a service. And then from watsonx, actually, you can choose which foundational model you want to use. And you can see the X here. So from watsonx, if you talk to watsonx directly, not through Analytics, you can then choose your foundation model. So you can choose Granite, which is from IBM. You can choose Llama, Mistral, DeepSeek. Then GPT is only available from GPT, and Gemma is from Google, Gemini, and it's only available on Grok or Llama or Gemini. So yeah, I thought I will start with it just to give you a quick overview of the state of AI. If you want to use AI with IBM Analytics, this is the different ways to do it. First, you choose your user interface, then your service provider, and then you can explore the different foundation model. Like for example, a lot of people are talking about DeepSeek, and actually the DeepSeek foundation model is available in Watson X. So if you subscribe to Watson X, you can then choose DeepSeek foundational model. So if you use Arc Assistant, from the Arc Assistant, you can go to the DeepSeek service, and then from the DeepSeek service, you can then use the DeepSeek foundation model. I don't know if there are any questions about AI.
There is a question. That's not about AI though. Do you want to?
Okay.
This is from Dirk Bieber. In the past, we used architecture import Active Directory groups into TM1 for security purposes. Is there a way to perform this AD group import via Pulse or automate it? So yeah, we've had some tickets on this.
Yes. So from Pulse, we are working on it, and there will be this is almost done, and has been requested by a few customers. So this will be available in the next release. So from Pulse, you can import Active Directory groups to manage the Pulse security. But if you're talking about the CAM, because we had a few questions about importing CAM users, we are also working on it because it's a limitation in Arc or Workspace. It's not that easy to get to add the CAM users from Architect or Workspace. All right. And yeah, so we're going to talk about the test tab. So this is the big, our main objective at Cubewise Code is really to help developers, TM1 developers, through all the steps of what you could call DevOps or continuous integration, continuous developments. So with Arc Plus, so once you have Arc and Pulse, you can plan, you can build your process, and you can test. That's the main feature that we released. And we have now a new training material, which is available for you to download. I will share it on the chat, and I will show it later to show you how you can create automated tests inside while you're doing your development inside Arc. So once your development are tested, you can then use Pulse to do live migration, and then you can use Pulse to support the documentation and the monitoring of your system. So we're going to talk about mainly about the test hub today, and about the test section of the continuous integration, continuous development. All right, so that's all for me for the introduction. I hand over to Marius about, he's going to talk about Atmosphere and TM1 Pi.
Thanks, Vincent. Good morning, everyone. We just, 2 weeks ago, we did a new TM1 Pi release, and Vincent asked me on the call to speak a bit about the release, and later on I also want to speak a bit about our new product, Atmosphere. So TM1 Pi, for those who don't know, it's a free and open source Python package for TM1. Cubewise has created it. Myself, I was heavily involved. We invest into it. It's very strategic to us. We use it on a lot of projects. Use it in our products. It's become like our Swiss Army knife to do to solve these kind of requirements, which out of the box are harder to address. So it's been around for a few years. It's established itself in the TM1 world. People use it far beyond the reach of Cubewise. It's really become, I guess, a tool in the toolbox for TM1 people like us. And we just did that new release like 2 weeks ago. So you can find TM1 Pi on GitHub. If you scroll down, there's a README file with how to install it, how to use it, and yeah, and there's little code snippets depending on if you are using version 12 or version 11 or TM1 local or TM1 on cloud. That looks a little bit different, but it's the same TM1 Pi. You can find it all there. Now on the new release, the release is it's really exciting in a way, and it's a bit unspectacular at the same time. If you scroll through the release notes, it almost looks a bit unspectacular. It's a lot of minor enhancements, compatibility issues with 3.12 that we improved. We've had some performance improvements, some bug fixes too, right, as they say. There's no bug-free software, but there's no AI button or something, right? There's nothing spectacular. However, I think what's special about this release is is the number of contributions and the number of contributors. So you can see down here, there's an extensive list of people who have contributed to the project, and that makes it like a legit and a solid open source project. And so we've got like 18 people who contributed code, people from all over the world, from Taiwan, Australia, South Africa, even Brazil. That's really cool. And why is that important? That's because every incremental change, every minor performance enhancement benefits all the TM1Py user base. Because it's open source and a shared platform, if someone, like what happened a few months ago, someone made one of the get elements functions a lot faster, and that sort of like benefits everyone. So it's nice, and also the fact that it's it's developed and maintained by a bigger group. That's really great, and we're proud of that. Are there any questions specifically to the TM1Py release?
Yeah, I don't see any questions yet, but yeah, even if it's not spectacular, yeah, that's the life of mature frameworks or software. Sometimes it's necessary to do some optimizations, and even if it's an important release, yeah, you cannot really show some fancy feature, but at the end, it's faster, it's more robust.
Yeah. Thank you. It's yeah, there's not so many new features because it's been feature complete, and I guess the point of TM1Py really is to to serve as an enabler. It enables us and you to do stuff with TM1 and Python. And what is really exciting is what people do with TM1Py. And just a couple of examples that I when I prepared for this call yesterday, went through some notes. So what I've seen people doing, like within 2-3 weeks, outlier detection. So finding numbers that are out of place in your budget or in your actuals. We're seeing completely custom AI integration. So if someone wants to write a Python script to leverage AI, leverage their own AI, that's a thing. A time series forecasting, of course. Almost no longer considered AI these days, but it's the great frameworks in Python for time series forecasting, and with TM1Py you can easily leverage them for TM1. I've seen one of our colleagues doing Excel file bursting, so very custom Excel format files with formatting and data tables, and then created with Python and bursted out through email. That's a thing. And ultimately, I was involved in a data integration project that loads data directly out of Oracle FCC. So that's just stuff that's been happening very recently. There's a lot more things that you could do with TM1 and Python. And
yeah, so just to add, I'm interested about the first use case. What do you have more information about when you say outliers in the numbers? What do they do exactly?
Yeah. So the idea is that it could be a wrong number, a human mistake in the budget, or the actuals don't make sense.
So how do they find a wrong number? Someone input a crazy number. How do they find it with a script?
Exactly. There's a Python script that looks at certain slices of your cubes, and then there are 2 approaches you can do with Python. You can do a simple approach where you just look at a time series. So for a given product, sales in a market, and then what you could do is just look at the standard deviation and look at, does one of these points is it higher than a three times the standard deviation? Yeah. That's a solution. Or the other solution would be model based, where you find the right granularity, and then do some build a model that fits to your points, and then see which ones fall out. And that's something that Python can do really well. And if you combine that with TM1, you could not just apply that on your cubes, but you could put a cell annotation on these these points, send out an email to people who are responsible. There's a lot of creative things you could do.
Yeah. Yeah, you could send an email alert. Someone put a crazy number somewhere. And maybe it makes sense for this person, but at least you can ask this person why there is this number, which
Yeah, I agree.
should not be that high. Oh, all right.
Speaking of things you can do with TM1Py, that brings me to the next point.
Yeah.
May I just continue with Atmosphere, Vincent?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we're waiting. There's no questions. We're looking at the chat, but yeah, go. Yeah, can go on.
Okay. So a group of people in Cubewise, including myself, we spent the last 18 months building Atmosphere. And the idea of Atmosphere is really to revolutionize the way we do data integration for TM1, especially cloud TM1. And so what we want to do is not build like one connector, but we want to build like all the connectors. We want to build all the connectors that are like to relevant ERP, CRM, HR tools that like hold like relevant data for TM1. And so we build a platform on which we'll continuously deploy these connectors. So at this point, we've got like 20 connectors, and so you will hear from us every time we build a new one. We'll announce it and speak about it on our website, on LinkedIn. But let me just show you how this works in general, and later I'll show you all the connectors we have. So Salesforce is a good example. Salesforce as a CRM is contains relevant information from planning perspective, and yet it is very hard to access using out of the box TM1 instruments. It doesn't have an ODBC connection, so it's a bit hard to get this kind of data and load it into TM1, or going the other way even, right? Sometimes you might want to push data back from TM1 into Salesforce. So that's that kind of requirement. It's not that easy to address. However, with our new Atmosphere product, it's quite easy because Atmosphere works as a service, and we make it available for you to use for data integration. So this is Arc. On the left, you can see my TM1 model, and here at the bottom, there's a new item in the list. It's called Atmosphere. Atmosphere is in the cloud. It's a service, but you can think of this as a window into Atmosphere. And here on the left, you can find all the functions that are deployed for my tenant. So there's Salesforce to TM1, Snowflake to TM1, D365 Finance to TM1. There's a lot more. I just deployed 3. And like when I want to use it, the best way to use it is from TI actually. So we made a strategic decision that we think it's best for people to use it from TI, kind of like a bedrock process. When you're using it the first time, you have to like deploy the TI processes. So there's a button here in Arc where you can deploy the TI processes.
Mm.
And,
so Marius, to
yeah.
see the list of functions, because now Atmosphere is available by default for every Arc customer. So if you have Arc, you will see the Atmosphere feature, but you first need to register to Atmosphere to be able to see the functions.
Yes.
And and you can. We're going to talk about it later, maybe.
So
it's so you can register
offering, right? You have to subscribe, and you
can subscribe. You can subscribe to one function, or to many, or to all of them if you want. And then once you subscribe, you will get the list of the function that you are allowed to use.
Thanks. So I will just demonstrate how this works for Salesforce, but it's the same ideas for Microsoft Dynamics, for Snowflake, for Databricks, and other data sources. So this is a TI process, and here you're just providing the arguments that you want. So this one's called Salesforce to TM1 metadata with the Atmosphere run prefix, and you're just providing like the Salesforce connection, the TM1 connection, and a query, and then you just execute it. And the TR process, like it kind of serves as a shell. So the TR process calls the atmosphere load. And now if I look under dimension, I provided the target name Salesforce account. So it should still be empty now because I haven't refreshed. But once I refresh, there should be a dimension. And so that dimension has exactly the same data as in Salesforce. So like all the things that we saw earlier in the Salesforce account, it's just available in TM1 now. And so this is like real time, right? It's you can call it overnight or anytime you want. Like it doesn't like persist your data in between, and it just goes end to end. And Atmosphere sort of like acts as a data exchange broker. You know, it just moves the data from A to B. One more thing.
So Marius, just on this,
yeah.
So from this function, I guess I think I can see some names on the call. There are a few technical people on the call. So when you look at the process, so with the same function, you can then use any queries from Salesforce. You just need to change the query. As in the parameter, we could see the query that you had. That was predefined. So you could get the contact information or opportunities from Salesforce. You just need to change the query.
Yes, and like,
am I right? Yeah.
That is right. So Salesforce in particular, they have this like friendly query language. They call it SOQL. It's typically one line, something like this. They always have this field standard, is the equivalent of an asterisk, and then you say the object that you want. It doesn't allow fancy filtering. It's a very plain query. And yeah, what I did is I just load all the attributes into a staging dimension, and then you could later on like post-process it with a TI process or something. Okay, there's one more thing I wanted to show earlier. When we called the atmosphere function, I provided connection names, and those connection names they have to refer to like a connection that you register in Atmosphere. So we have this UI that allows you to register new connections and test them. So earlier we were using the Salesforce connection, and you can test them, see if the connection is working, and the TM1 connection we also were using earlier. So it's just a UI in Arc that allows you to like register new connections, test connections that you have, and when they're green, when they're working, then you can just use them, and well, essentially load data from source systems.
So the connection will work with IBM Cloud, V11, V12. Do you have any restriction on V12 or?
No, it just works. We've built it so that it works with V12, V11 on cloud, on-prem. But Atmosphere itself is in the cloud.
Yeah, so that is why Atmosphere needs to have access to your TM1 REST API, so you can then send the data back to your TM1 instance. All right. Cool. Anything else, Marius?
That's all.
All right. Cool. Yeah, just remind everyone the chat is available. If you have a question, you can post it there. Don't be shy. Yeah, you can ask any questions you want. All right. So next, maybe I'll go next to talk about Pulse, because yeah, like TM1Py is not a spectacular release, but there is one really new feature that we have added into Pulse. I will show it quickly. All right, so this is Pulse. So if you've never seen Pulse before, so this is a web application that is monitoring any TM1 application. It could be on the cloud, it could be on V12 SaaS, it could be on premise. So from Pulse, you can see your environments, which are either the cloud or admin host. And from each admin host, you can see the list of TM1 instances below. So I'm just going to select one TM1 admin host. So on this admin host, you see a few TM1 instances. So what is new is this navigation here. So you can easily switch between environments. If I go to a TM1 instance, then I will see the list of all my TM1 instances. Then I can change my environment if I want. So it enables you, once you're inside the feature of Pulse, you don't need to go to the menu. You can just switch the TM1 instance or environment if you want. Once you're inside a TM1 instance, you can easily change the feature. So if you want to go to Model Spotlight, then it's going to keep your TM1 instance. Then you can go, if you want to go to the change history, this is where it's going to keep the same TM1 instance from the environment. So this is the main feature to make it easier to switch between features. So instead of having to go through the menu and select your feature, you can then go, for example, if you want to go to the flow diagram, instead of doing this, you can then just go to the drop down and just type flow diagram, and then you can click and it will take you straight to the flow diagram for this specific TM1 instance. So this is the main feature that has been added in this release. Similar to TM1 Pi, there has been a lot of backend optimizations, and we really focused on making Pulse to work better with very large systems. Previously, we were testing Pulse with 50 TM1 instances. So now we are testing Pulse, so one Pulse with 100 TM1 instances. And we already got the feedback that from our large customers, Pulse is now much more perform much more better in these big environments. So now, you could see you could have one Pulse for 100 TM1 instances. If you have more than 100 TM1 instances, I would recommend to have at least two Pulse because Pulse does a lot of things on each TM1 instance. So if you have more than 100, we have a customer, they have 200 TM1 instances. It is better to have at least two Pulse because, Pulse queries all the sessions, the logs, the threads for each TM1 instance. So if you have 200 of them and there's a lot of activity, it's very unlikely that Pulse will get all of this information back in 1 second. So there might be a bit of delay in the live monitoring. But it's kind of an edge case having 200, but we have actually quite a few customers with 100 or 50 TM1 instances. And now for these big customers, Pulse now is works much better. So not much to demo for this release. Just again, think that it's a lot more robust. So then I think I would just, if there are no questions about Pulse, I will hand over to Harvey to talk about Arc Plus, and we can spend the rest of the meeting talking about Arc Plus and Slice. Are there any questions?
No, I don't see anyone typing.
No. All right. I saw someone typing earlier, but it stopped.
Yeah, there was one earlier. We can see you when you type. We know you backed out of your question.
All right. Cool, Harvey. You're up next.
All right, so I'm just going to go through a few of the new features in Arc and Arc Plus. One of the main ones and big topic of the day is the AI assistant. So we've made a few updates to the AI assistant. The first one is you can now use multiple LLMs. I think Vincent mentioned this. So in the list that you showed, and actually more, I believe, I think we can use Claude and a few others, anything that's OpenAI compatible. You can now configure it in some way or another to work with the Arc Assistant, which is really cool. The other thing is that the Arc Assistant has spread like a virus and now is available in the rule editor. So if we just enable the Arc Assistant, the first time you enable it, you'll get this disclaimer. This is just saying we can't guarantee, we can't guarantee that the Arc Assistant is going to give you good advice. Some of the models have a bit of a kind of human-like tendency to hallucinate or to answer the question even when it doesn't know the answer. So you've got to be a little bit cautious when you're using AI. This is just general advice, not just TM1, but also a lot of the AIs haven't been trained on TM1 specifically. So while we're finding they give pretty good advice, yeah, it's worth just knowing. Once you dismiss that one, it won't come back. So
yeah, maybe just to add on the warning, I guess, as I said earlier, like in the warning, and even if you highlight, if you hover the Arc Assistant, you will see the LLM model, the foundation model that Arc Assistant is using, because again, the Arc Assistant is a window to an LLM model. So it's not really the Arc Assistant who is giving the answer. Arc Assistant is asking a service to provide the answer for you. That's part of the disclaimer. That depending on the service you use, you will get different answers using the same Arc Assistant. So that's what is interesting now with Arc, is that you can try different service, different models to find the best one. So we are still, I think the community is still exploring which foundational model is the best. Because again, yeah, with the same service, like if you subscribe to Grok, you can use different foundational model, even with what's on X. So yeah, sorry, Harvey, just adding.
No, that's cool. It's important to say. It's also important to note your data does get sent elsewhere. So anything that you put in this code window will be sent to whatever service you're using. So it's just something to be cautious about if it's sensitive data or anything like that. So you can just highlight a rule. This works exactly the same way as the TI editor did. You can see it puts the code in here. There's a new button. You can hide that if you want to. So you don't really need to see this. You sort of know what you highlighted. So just to create some more space, you can remove that. You can just do explain code, which is the default. It just adds a few prompts in the background. And this will explain what the payroll taxes rule does. It usually gives you a pretty good indication of what it does. You can also enter a custom message. And if you just let's pick something else with like, say we pick this one. And you can ask a specific question like, can you suggest a good description for account 4200 based on the highlighted rule? You could be more concise than me. I don't know what this will do, but oh, there you go. A suitable description could be sales revenue or retail sales amount. So, you know, you could use this to, if you're stuck on what to put in your alias for the account.
Come on, just ask to generate a feeders, Harvey.
Yeah, do you want to
Let's
do
be
it?
fun. Yeah, let's do it. Just ask, yeah, give me 5 suggestions of feeders for this rule. Because this is where people always ask, can AI write feeders for us? Well, let's see if it has improved. I haven't tried, so right now Harvey is trying GPT. I didn't see which model you're using. But yeah, 4.0. So let's see if I understand feeders.
Here is a feeder. Got a bit of a formatting thing.
Yeah.
Financials.
Sales amount.
Well, it's picked a cube that doesn't exist. It should be the retail cube. I don't think there is a financials cube.
Different. Yeah.
But it's not terrible. It's just you would need to update that to say retail. I think probably everything else is okay from the looks of it.
Oh, so you put the measure from the right side on the left, at least.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is where, is where it shows that as long as the LLM model does not know your applications, it's going to be difficult to get a good answer for feeders. So that's something that we're going to look at with the Cubewise code team, like, because Pulse knows the structure of your application. So the idea will be like when you ask this type of question, you also send the structure of the cube and the element of the dimension. So at least it can send you maybe the consolidation, because in here, an LLM model won't be able to guess, for example, the consolidation of a dimension, because the LLM model only has the information that you send at this point. And this point, we just send the code that is highlighted. Yeah, but you can try. I guess we can see that the model are improving quickly.
Well, I mean, yeah, the syntax is correct, and it's in the vicinity of a feeder that would work. it's hallucinated a cube that doesn't exist. But yeah, that's just what you got to watch for in this sort of early phase of AI. So is there any questions about AI? Does anyone want to suggest a question to ask the AI and see if we can crash something or break something or anything interesting? Nothing rude, of course. No? Okay. Well, if you think of anything, we can always come back to it.
Yeah, well, we are still, always, now with the Arc Assistant, it enables anyone to use the AI embedded to your development. So it will be also interesting to hear from you guys if you think about a good use case for AI. Like the first one you could think of is generate a feeder. So this is not there yet. The other one is explain a rule, but for a developer, it might not be that useful, but maybe for your users, they might want to understand having an English explanation of a rule. But yeah, if you have a good question, we're happy to try it now.
I don't see anyone typing. They're on to us.
Yeah.
All right. One small feature that's been added in 4.6 is the ability to delete persistent feeders. So you can see here there's a new button next to the feeder button, the reprocess feeder button. If you click that, it deletes all the persistent feeders. So it's kind of handy being able to do that from the user interface instead of having to go and I think did you have to restart the server to get that to kick in, Vincent? I think you did.
Well, yeah. So the requirement was for some customers, like sometimes you want to delete the feeders file before you restart your TM1 instance. So instead of having to go to the TM1 data folder and delete the feeders file, now you can just click this button. So Arc will delete the feeders file. Well, actually, Arc is asking TM1 to delete the file. So TM1 is deleting the feeders file, and then you can restart your TM1 instance. So I think that's the main use case why you want to delete feeders file. Because you don't process the feeders here, you delete the feeders file.
Yeah, that's right. So it just means next time you reload, it won't reload the persistent feeders, which can be handy. So Marius already showed the Atmosphere plugin, but just worth another mention. It's a pretty significant addition and something that for anyone who's thinking about looking into Atmosphere, at least you know you've got a user interface that you can help to administer that. So some very cool stuff there. I think Vincent's going to show a bit of this later, but there's a new feature in Slice. I haven't quite got time to sort of show it properly, but I think Vincent's example is going to be better anyway. Where if you provide a
I can show it now if you want to have it.
You want to show it now?
Yeah, well, and then we can hand it over to you again if you. So actually, it was prepared by Luis, from our team as well. So yeah, so this feature was added by Andre, and actually Andre is on the chat. So yeah, if you have any very specific functions for Slice, this is the time. We have Andre, who is the lead developer for Slice, on the call. He's the one who built this feature. So yeah, please, this is your time to ask questions. Anything you want to know about Slice, not necessarily about Andre, but yeah, if you want to know anything about Slice, it's the time. All right, so this is the spreadsheet that Luis prepared. So I think, what is interesting in Slice is that with Slice, there are different ways to get the same value with the DBRW. So you can see all of these columns, you get the same values using DBRW. But the DBRW is referencing, especially for the region, different ways. So the first one is using just a consolidation called Western Europe. This one is using a subset with the same elements. And this one is using a virtual consolidation. So you can see inside the DBRW, instead of the subset, we're using a virtual consolidation, which is a way to add elements in your Excel workbook, so you don't have to create this consolidation. This might be handy for users who don't have access to create consolidations. Then virtual expressions. So this is where you can use functions like average, maximum, minimum, or the sum. In this example, we're using a sum. So the way to use virtual expression is to use this syntax here. So you put the function, and then you put either a subset, or you could have a few elements. And then another feature which is unique to Slice is the cell range. So you can see here with the same DBRW function, instead of having one cell, there is a range of elements that you can use. So what is new in this release is a subset. It's this feature here. So virtual consolidation, virtual expression, cell range has been there for a long time already. What is new is that we have a lot of customers who are using subset inside DBRW. I personally never use subset inside DBRW, but some TM1 customers love it. So now with Slice, since this release 4.6, you can now use a subset inside the DBRW function. Yeah, I'm not the person to tell you if it's a good idea or bad idea, but yeah, because it might be confusing sometimes. Like especially here, you have two DBRW. This one is an element. This one is a subset. So it might be confusing, but yes, some customers they use it quite often. So now this is available in Slice. And yeah, just remind you that also other ways to get the same values. Yeah, with Slice. So you have lots of options now. Do you have any questions? So this is the main feature that has been added in Slice, and on top of this, there has been a lot of optimizations and bug fixes as well. But this is the main feature to show that we can show today. Any question for DBRW? Maybe. Oh, so there was a question from Roy about, can you refer to a subset as a consolidation in a cube view? I think Andrea replied, you can refer only to public safe subsets in a cube view. And in a cube view, you can also create temporary consolidations inside a cube view. You can select your element and you can group them to get the sum. Well, Javi, back to you. I don't know if you want to show more features of Arc Plus or Arc.
I'll just show the messenger feature quickly. It's a bit of a fun one, I suppose. So yeah, there's now a messaging feature and a broadcast feature in Arc. If you remember back in the old Architect days, occasionally you would want to send a message to all the logged in users, and you'd use the broadcast feature for that in Architect. We've brought that one back with a bit more functionality. So it's I'll show you how that works. So I've got two browsers here. These are two separate users. This guy's called Dougie. This is me, Harvey, over here. You can tell Dougie has the light theme. I have the dark theme, so you can tell us apart. So yeah, if I log into an instance over here, I now have a new plugin called Messenger. I can set my name here, and I can pick my recipients. And you can see in here, I've only got one recipient. Dougie doesn't show up. That's because he's not logged into the same instance at the moment. As soon as Dougie logs in over here, and keep in mind, that could be on a separate machine. It could be on the other side of the world. It doesn't matter. It's just happens to be. You can see Dougie showed up in the list now, so I can send Dougie a message if I want to. Hey, Dougie. I won't spend too much time being creative with my messages, but it's weird during my testing. So it shows you your message on this side. Dougie gets his message over here. He can click on it and he can answer. It puts Harvey in the reply window for him. And I'll close that just to get a bit more room. Hey, Harvey. And you can see the message goes on and on. So it's just like a regular chat program. It's a very basic version of a chat program, though. And to be honest, I don't think we're intending to make it a full-featured chat application ever. This is just to communicate about your work. It's a collaboration feature. It's not for sharing emojis or file attachments or, I don't know, pictures or anything like that. Although I'm sure we'll get some requests at some point and someone will come up with a justification for that. I wouldn't mind having emojis. You know, it's always a nice touch. But yeah, so these are by instance. It's just worth mentioning that if I go into a different instance and I'll log in and I go
So just to add, as Harvey said, like the feature as it is right now is kind of basic because you can only chat with your colleagues. But what we are planning also to do is to add more features to this messenger, like the notification from Pulse, like someone change a process, or even talk to the AI assistant inside your chat with your colleague.
Yeah, the core technology for this feature will enable a lot of other really cool features down the track, one of which should be in the next release, which has been requested quite a lot. I think we'll save that for the next AMA though. But so you can see it, now that I'm in this instance messenger, I can only see myself, whereas when I'm in the original one, I can see Dougie as well. So that's important because Dougie's not logged into this instance, so he won't be getting any messages from there. And if I've got this one selected over here and Dougie replies, it pops up in the messenger over here. So it's important to keep track of which messengers you have open because they're all per instance. Everything is per instance. The other thing is the broadcast feature. So if I want to send a message to everyone, I can just click broadcast here and say I'm shutting the server down. And send that, and you can see that everybody gets that. Of course, we've only got 2 users, so it's probably a little bit difficult. And the only other thing to know is you'll notice Dougie can't broadcast, and the reason for that is he is not admin on that instance. You have to be admin to be able to broadcast, and that's just a safeguard for spam or whatever, like might infiltrate the system or whatever, or even just real people being idiots. Yeah. Just don't make them admin, they won't be able to broadcast. So yeah, it's a bit of a fun feature, but it's also, I think, useful in the sense that, you know, if you're going to work on a particular set of rules and you know that someone else has been working on it, you can just ask them what they're doing. You don't need to worry about where they're sitting or whether they're working from home or whatever. If they're logged in, you'll see them in the list and you can just tap them on the shoulder that way. So.
Yeah, well, the first idea was to replicate the feature of Architect, where from Architect you can broadcast a message to all your users. That's how it all started. But then, yeah, we're going to expand it with to integrate this with a lot of features of Pulse and AI. But yeah, now you can, similar to Architect, you can broadcast a message to all the users. So there was a question about the Messenger, if this is available in Slice. And the answer is yes, because inside Slice, you have an Arc server. So when you open the Server Explorer, you actually have Arc. So any Arc features are available inside Slice.
Well, with one caveat, you would have to be connecting remotely to a central server. Obviously, the broadcast routes through the Arc server. So if you're running a local server, you'll be talking to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a good point, a good recommendation for anyone on the call. So when you have more than one, user of Slice, so Slice connects to an Arc server. So it is recommended to use a centralized Arc server for everyone. So when a new user gets Slice on his laptop, he can just put the URL of the Arc server, and then he can connect to Arc. So to be able to send a message, you need everyone to be connected, to be using the same Arc server. But that's usually the default recommendation when you have a few users. It enables you to share the settings, share the license with all the users more easily. So yeah, everyone should be using a centralized Arc server when working with Slice.
Cool. That's all I had. I've got the future stuff for later if we have time. But I'll kick it back to you now.
Yeah, I think there's just 10 minutes left, so maybe we talk a bit about the test hub. And I'll post it on the chat right now. This is the training material for the test hub. So we just released it a few weeks ago. So I'm going to share my screen. Oh yes, there was a question also about is the AI Arc Assistant available in Slice? So yes, it is available in Slice, because again, in Slice you have Arc. So the way it works inside Slice is you have two functions. One called Arc Assistant.data, which has two arguments. So you can put the question, and then you can select some data, and then it will send the data to the service. So again, just be aware that once you send the data, slice, you send the data to the service, and then it sends you back the answer. So that's how it works in Slice. So you need there is a new function, Arc Assistant, the data that you can use. So, and then we have wanted to show, this is the hands-on. You can find the hands-on manual on our website. So if you go to resources, you'll find all the resources here. And here we have the hands-on test hub. If you click on it, you'll find the link to download the manual. So what is nice about this manual is it would show you how to create different tests, like the most common test that you will need to create as a TM1 developer, like when you load data, when you check for a rule. Yeah, someone joining a bit late, the meeting. Anyway, can admit. Dimension update, comparing cells between different cubes, or exporting data. So I can show a few examples here on this one, and just refresh. So to be able to use the test hub, you need Pulse, and you need to connect to Pulse. So you can see right now I get the yellow icon here, so it means I'm not connected. So I would just click the button to connect to Pulse. Because when you use the test hub, so Arc is going to create the test, and the tests are going to be stored inside Pulse to be able to share it with other developers. So even though one developer is working on his browser, the data is shared across all the developers. So I'm just going to, all right, I'm back to Arc here. Yeah, I can see the blue icon. Oh. Now logged into Pulse, just refreshed Arc. And here we go, let's log in. Just a bit slow right now, but yeah, just click to quickly. All right, let's go to the test hub. I'm going to refresh. And here we go. So this is, so in the test hub, you have the test that you create. Then you can group them by category. It's just a way to group and make it easier to find your test. You create your test, and then you create a collection to group the test you want to run. So you run a collection of tests. So I'm just going to show you a few examples. So if you go through the training will give you access to the TM1 data folder here that you can, this TM1 instance. And then what you can see, you have a few examples. So one that is very interesting is to be able to check a rule. So from the test, it's not just about testing a process, you can test a rule. So the way to do it is when you create, when you do a test in this example, we don't have lots of time, so I'm just going to cover this example. So the way to test a rule is, so when you do testing, you don't test the data, you test data. You need to make sure that the results will always be the same. So the way to do this is inside the test, inside the setup, you can do a cell put n to enter two values. And then you know your rule, so it's going to execute the rule. And then in the cleanup, so in here it's going to check the value, and you know what will be the result. And then in the cleanup, you're going to clean up the data. So at least you don't leave test data in your system. So this is the way you do it. First you set up, enter the value, then you check the value, and then you do the cleanup. So to check the value, you have an assertions. Inside the assertions, this is where you select the reference in your cube, and then you do the equals and 2. So you know that the expected outcome would never change unless someone changed the rule. So that's really the idea of the automated test, is that when you write your rule at some point of time, you know what should be the results when you with some specific data. And it means that if in the future someone needs to change the rule, they can run the test to make sure that the results won't change. So even though it looks like it takes a bit of time at the beginning because you need to set up the test we cannot really create the test for you because it's really specific to a rule and to the value that you will get at the end. But the nice thing about it is that in the future, when someone goes into, or if you go to a new project and you need to update the rule, at least you can run the test and you will know exactly what should be the results for a specific data. So that's how you can check for rules. And what is also interesting that you can check for feeders. So in here, we are checking for the same values, but for the consolidation. So with the same test, Arc is going to check. So Arc is going to insert two values. It's going to run the rule to get the result, compare the results, and then check for the feeders by making sure that the consolidations get the same value. So yeah, we just have 4 minutes left. Do you have any questions, or can spend 4 more minutes to go through other tests? Not looking at the chat, I don't know if there was some, Harvey, if there were some questions answered or no?
No questions.
All right, so maybe I can show, exporting data. So quite often from TM1, you need to export data. So you can create a test. So in this example, the test is going to execute the process to export the data in a CSV file. And then inside the cleanup, you're going to delete the file because each time you run the test, you don't want to keep the file. And inside the assertions, this is where you check if the file exists. So if the file exists, you are actually entering some custom TI code here to check. This is a tier 1 function to check if the file exists. So the test hub allows you to expand the pre-built assertion that you have by adding your own TI code. So you can add any code you want to give you more options. Like, for example, if you want to check cells from different cubes and making sure they reconcile, you could do a cell get n from cube A and cell get n from cube B. You compare the data and then you do a process break or log output if the data does not reconcile. So the test hub gives you a lot of flexibility. So I understand at the beginning it might be a bit overwhelming, but it is a skill to create automated tests. But it's a really good skill to have, because once you have it, we build the test hub, so it should not take you that long to create the test. But once you have the test, in the long run, you will always be able to execute the test, and you will be able to share the test with other developers. So if you're on holidays and someone needs to edit your rules or edit your process, instead of trying to guess which manual test they need to do, they can just run the test that you have prepared for this process. So when they update the process, they can run the test that you have created to make sure that the tests are still successful. All right, so I have 2 minutes left. Any last chance to ask questions? If you, after the meeting, if you think about questions, we still have the Cubewise forum. Anyone is allowed to log into the Cubewise forum. I just paste the link. If you didn't know about the forum, I will stop sharing. So if you feel free to log into the forum, it's open to anyone to log in, and then you can post your question on the forum. All right. I think that's all. Just on time. Thanks everyone for attending this session. Thanks Harvey and Marius for presenting.
Thanks, everyone.
And yeah, let's keep the good TM1. All right. See you everyone. I'll end the meeting now. Bye.